Hey folks, welcome to the UniHosted channel. Today is Radius Day. I'm going to show you how you can configure radius for your wireless networks in the UniFi controller. I will show you two scenarios. One will be using the internal or built-in UniFi radio server that you can find on the UniFi Gateways. And I'm also going to show you how you can configure an external radio server, for example, Windows Server or free radios. In my example, I'm going to use Windows Server, but pretty much it's going to be the same for any other radio server. So if you want to add more security to your wireless network by using radios, keep tuned on this video and I'm going to show you how you can configure it on the UniFi environment. So now let's begin. All right, now before we begin with the configurations, let me show you what I'm going to be using for the two scenarios that I mentioned. Now, first of all, I will be always using the network application on this UniFi Cloud Gateway Ultra. Now, the main difference is that for the built-in radio server, I will be using the radio server on the Gateway Ultra. You need a gateway or UniFi Gateway to use the built-in radio server. You can't use just the network application. If you have an external radio server, yes, you can configure it on the standalone network application. Okay, so this is something important to know. To connected to this Gateway Ultra, I have a UniFi Lite switch, and to the switch, I have two things connected. One is it's U6 Plus access point that is broadcasting the VLAN 30 network, which is on my UniFi Gateway Ultra. And on the other side, let me just move things a little bit so you can see this. There we go. Sorry about that. But basically, I have my host PC, this one over here. I have a wireless card on this PC, and this also works as the host of a Windows server with the NPS role. Basically, is the Radius server role for Windows Server. Okay, so I will be using this guy for the second scenario where I'm going to configure an external radio server. Okay, all right, let's begin with the configuration of the built-in radio server for UniFi. I'm going to go here to my gateway, my cloud gateway. Something else I wanted to show you is what I'm running for the UniFi OS and for the network application version. So keep in mind, if you see something different on your end, check the version. Probably it's a different version. And as you know, UniFi likes to change things from all their places. So if you see something different, that might be the case. Okay, first thing that you need to do to configure the radius profile is go to settings and then go to profiles. Okay, now go to radius over here, and you should see this if you have a UniFi gateway. Want to click here, and you can see it says, first of all, it's asking you for a shared secret. Now, I already have something defined over here because I was playing with it, but probably if you never touch this, this is empty and you need to create a secret. This is like a password and it's for the Radius client. Now, the Radius client is not actually your wireless devices. It's going to be actually, in this case, an access point because we are setting up radios with for wireless authentication. So the Radius client will be the access point. If you're setting up radios for wired authentication, the Radius client will be the switch. Okay, so that's important to know. So just define a secret, and I'm going to click over here because I want to enable this for wireless networks. Now for the authentication port and the accounting port, I'm just going to leave the default ones. And I have here the interim update interval. Basically, this is the time that you have for all the updates of connectivity and all the status of the connected devices. Okay, what's the time that the server will communicate to see the status of everything or to receive the information of all the devices connected. Most of the time, this is changed to 60 seconds, or a lot of people like to change it to 60 seconds. I'm going to define 300 seconds for it. And then I'm going to activate the tunnel reply. Basically, this is to encrypt the communication between the server and the client. Okay. Now, with all of this, I just need to click here on apply changes. All right. And now I need to create the credentials for the actual radio server. Okay. I'm going to click over there on local credentials and I'm going to create a new user. So for this, I'm going to name it Radius Test. Now, let me grab a password over here. There we go. Okay, now I need to specify a VLAN ID. Now for my case, I'm going to use VLAN 30. Okay, now you can see there are two things that are being automatically populated over here. One is the tunnel type, and yes, it's a virtual VLAN. You have other kinds of tunnel types. But basically, this is because radio server is not only used for this, it's used for a lot of things. Okay, now again, you just need to leave this on the default. Same for the tunnel medium type. Okay, it's going to be Ethernet. Okay, 802. So I'm just going to leave that for the defaults, and I'm going to click add. All right, now if you want, you can create more users. Probably you want to do that, but I'm just going to go and configure the wireless network. Now, just one more thing. If you go to settings and if you go to profiles again, in the radio section, you can also see or manage the users from this part over here. You can just click local credentials and it will take you back to where you configure the users. Okay, perfect. Now what I need to do is I need to assign this radius profile to the wireless network that I already have configured. So I'm going to go to settings and to the Wi-Fi settings over here. You can see I have this wireless network created. and I have a password defined. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the security protocol of this wireless network from the mixed mode of WPA2 and WPA3 to any of the enterprise modes. Okay, now this the WPA2 and WPA3 thing or compatibility issue applies for radios as well. If you have devices that are not compatible with WPA3, just don't use it or use the mixed mode. I'm just going to use WPA2 Enterprise. Something that you will notice right after you do the change is that the password for the wireless network is gone. That's because you will be doing the authentication over with the user or the credentials that we created. Okay. Now, after you choose the enterprise mode for WPA2 or 3, you need to specify the radius profile. I only have one radius profile, basically the built-in server. So I'm going to click default over there. Now, two things or two settings that appear here to configure after you choose or you want to activate radius. One is the NAS ID. Basically, this is how the radius client, so in this case, the access point, identifies itself with the radius server. Okay. You can just leave this as, for default. Now, a small note, if you're using a custom radius server, maybe like the one that I'm going to be using for Windows or other types of radius server, maybe a cloud radius server, they may ask you or they may need you to set this to something different. Okay, basically this is an attribute or a string in the radius connection. Okay, you can set this to custom if you want, and you can just enter a string. But again, don't change this unless it's required by the radius server. Okay, we are going to be using this option the same as default. Now, another thing here that's mentioned too, important to mention, is the COA or change of authorization. Now, this is something that was introduced I think in 8.4 or the 8.4 network application version. Basically, change of authorization is something that belongs to radius, and it allows to send live packets or communication between the radius and the radius client in case of any change of the authorization of the user. To put it simply, let's say that you have a user that it's connected to or it wasn't authenticated to the radius server, and for some reason that user needs to be revoked, needs to be disabled or anything like that. This will help you to perform a live revocation after you do it on the radius server. And to disconnect the user right away. Now, to set this up, it's a little bit complicated. So we are not going to be using this option right now. This will require you to activate a few things, has a lot of requirements. You can check this on the Ubiquiti radius configuration, okay? You can just leave this as default. And in case a user needs to be revoked, this will be done after they re-authenticate with the radius server, okay? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to apply the changes. And now I'm just going to pause the video until all these settings are deployed to my U6 Plus, and then I will just try to connect. Okay, so let me just pause the video over here. Alrighty, and the settings are already deployed to the access point. So I'm going to try to connect. Now let me grab that password. So let me copy this guy over here, and I need to go here. I already activated my Wi-Fi on this computer, and VLAN 30, there we go. Okay, it's asking me for the username, and I'm just going to paste the password over here, click OK. Yep, I will go ahead and connect. Now let's see what happens. Boom, I'm connected. Perfect. So that means that I was authenticated correctly. And if I go to client devices, I should be here. And yep, I connected to the U6 Plus and everything shows correct. Let me see in the settings if there's anything else there. But yeah, looks like everything is working as expected. Okay, perfect. So that should be it for the built-in configuration of the radius server. All right, now let's go ahead and do the external radius server configuration. And like I mentioned before, I'm going to be using a Windows server with the NPS or network policy server role installed. Basically is the radius server for Windows server. And I want to show you the configuration here. First of all, let's go to the radius clients. Now here I need to specify the IP address of my UniFi access point, and here is where I'm gonna be specifying the share secret, just like we did on the built-in radius server. Okay, now this is not a video to cover the configuration of the Windows NPS server, but I still wanted to show you this in case you are trying to set this one up and maybe you're having issues, so you can compare this to your environment. Okay, so after I did this, I also have to configure the request policies and the network policies. Now what I want to show you about the network policies is I have two conditions. So one is going to be that this is going to be a wireless connection, okay? And the other condition is that only the Active Directory users that belong to this group are the ones that are going to be able to authenticate with this radius server. Okay, so I have a user that is a member of this radius group. Something else that I want to show you, this is pretty similar to what we configure on the radius or local credentials of the built-in radius. And you can see here the radius attributes. We have this on the standard. Here's where I define the VLAN ID and also the tunnel type and the tunnel medium type. Okay, so I had to define this on these radius servers to make it work with the VLAN. Okay, alrighty. So with that being being said, I just wanted to show you this about the Windows radio server. I'm going to go back to the console. Now, again, you should be able to do this also without a UniFi Gateway and just with the standard network application. Okay, so same thing, I will go here into the radius profiles and I'm going to create a new radius profile. Okay, and I'm going to call it Win Radius. And just like before, I will use it for wireless networks. Now you can see it appears the TLS option. So this will be mainly used when you're using a radio server in the cloud, okay? Because this activates RADSec. So basically it will encrypt the radius traffic from your local network, okay, to the internet where you have the radius or cloud radio server. Most of the time this is used with bus point servers. In this case, I'm not going to be using this one, but if you're using something like a cloud radio server, they should provide with all of this. You can see it will ask you for a client certificate, a private key, and also a private key password and CA certificate. Okay, so a lot of things that you will need from that cloud server. Now here on the IP address, I need to define the IP address of my radio server. Okay, so I'm going to use the IP address of the that Windows server. The authentication one will be the same. Now the share secret, I'm going to grab the one that I also configured on the Radius client of the NPS server. I'm going to click add over here. I also want to add this server as an accounting server, so I'm going to use the same IP. If you have another accounting server, just use the IP. You will also need to enter the share secret, and we can see we have the same option for the interim update interval, and I'm going to put this to 300 seconds. Okay, I'm going to click add, and now the external or the Windows radio server is added to the controller. What I need to do is I need to go to the Wi-Fi network just like before. So I'm going to go here. Now open this VLAN, and what I just need to do over here is I need to switch the radius profile. You can see now I have the Win radio server just like I had before. Sorry, just like I just configured. It's appearing over there. Now I will leave the other settings with the default, and I'm going to apply the changes. Okay, same thing. I'm going to wait until the configurations are applied to the U6 Plus. So let me just pause the video, and then I will do the test with my computer. Alrighty, my access point is now configured, and I'm gonna go here. Let me look for that network, something that I didn't show you, but since I'm connected to the same network, I had to forget the wireless network, or I will have issues, and I was not going to be able to authenticate with a new user because the name is almost the same, the username is almost the same, but I need to enter the Active Directory domain. So I'm gonna click here and type the user, like I mentioned, is the same one. Now for the password, I believe that I also have the same password. So let me grab it here and connect. There we go. I'm going to click connect here, and boom, it's connected. Awesome. Let's see client devices, see if I'm connected. Yep, it works. Everything looks great here. Okay, awesome. Now, again, like I mentioned before, user management will be done from Active Directory in this case and not locally over here. Alrighty, so that's it. That should be it if you want to set up an external radio server like Windows NPS. Alright folks, that was it for the Radius wireless configuration and the UniFi controller and gateway. If you enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, turn on the notifications for new videos. If you have any questions, comments, or requests for new videos, just drop them in the comment section below. My name is Fernando, and I will see you in the next UniHosted video. Bye bye.